Front Sight Training article number 11. Dry practice is the key to success. I know that sounds a bit like a bumper sticker or a slogan on the back of a t-shirt. So what do I mean by dry practice is the key to success? First, let's start with a couple of definitions. Dry practice is a training you will conduct with an unloaded weapon to polish the skills you learned in your course at Front Sight. During dry practice, you are using your regular gun, magazines, holster, and other gear. However, there is absolutely no ammunition anywhere nearby, thus the term dry practice. Dry practice is tremendously beneficial because you can ingrain into muscle memory the proper gun handling, marksmanship, and tactics without needing live ammunition or a formal firing range. That means you can hone your skills at home or perhaps in a hotel room without the hassles of driving to the range or spending money on ammunition. Understand, dry practice is not merely a cost savings measure. Even if you have tons of money and the cost of ammunition is not a burden, you should dry practice regularly. Dry practice is about improving your skills, not pinching pennies. At Front Sight, we have a highly regimented approach to dry practice, which involves a classroom lecture, a liability release, multiple discussions on the range from our seasoned range masters about how to dry practice each skill, and even a very thorough dry practice manual, essentially a picture book showing step-by-step instructions for each technique. At Front Sight, we leave no stone unturned in an effort to guide your safe, effective dry practice. The benefits of dry practice cannot be overstated. In fact, let me tell you an interesting story to prove the point. Back in the mid-1990s, a notable firearms instructor took a class of 40 students and divided them into two even groups. Half of the students received the instructor's regular 5-day handgun curriculum, and the other half received only dry practice of the same curriculum. At the end of the 5th day, both groups shot a skills test, or qualification course, to determine the level of skill they had achieved during the course. The skills test consisted of 50 rounds being shot at distances ranging from 1 to 25 yards, as well as gun handling skills like tactical reloads, emergency reloads, and malfunction clearances. For the group of students who received only dry practice, the skills test represented the very first rounds of live ammunition they fired during the entire course. The winner? The group who received only dry practice did slightly better on the skills test than those who had spent the last 5 days shooting 750 rounds of live ammunition. This result was so shocking that the instructor duplicated the experiment a month later and achieved the exact same results. Don't underestimate the benefits of dry practice. Dry practice works. Dry practice is undoubtedly the best avenue to success. However, at some point you will need to shoot live ammunition as well, because there are some critical exercises which can only be performed with real ammo. For example, to deliver an effective controlled pair, you need to ingrain the muscle memory of controlling muzzle flip and recoil, and that only comes from live fire training. Also, you need to verify the weapon is working flawlessly and sighted in. There are a number of facets which will ensure your victory in a gunfight. A proper defensive handgun and appropriate ammunition. Professional training in gun handling, marksmanship, and tactics. Dry practice to keep your skills sharp. Live fire training. The color-coded mental awareness so you see the fight coming well in advance. The combat mindset to keep you focused on winning the fight. Think of the above list as the roster of players, but success in a gunfight requires a team effort. Dry practice will provide maybe 80% of your skills, but you still need the contribution of the other players. Understand you will never attain very impressive skill levels without dry practice. Next week in part 2 of The Key to Success, we will move beyond the philosophy of dry practice and explore some ideas of making your dry practice real. Go to www.frontsight.com to subscribe to our free gun training reports. Go to www.frontsight.tv to watch informative and entertaining original Front Sight TV shows.